Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Hey, to all my YouTubers out there, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it, click it, click it. I loves to click it. Yeah. Well, Happy New Year, my peoples. I want you to have a magical 2023. And I want to thank everyone for helping to grow Wyatt by leaps and bounds, y'all. And thank you for making Wyatt an international podcast. Yeah, baby. Now, let me tell you something. I'm kicking off the new year with a 2-part series on a critical issue, depression in Black, gay, same-gender loving men. It's a critical issue. Now, our special guest today is Mr. Antoine Craigwell, and he is the renowned Go-To-It international expert in depression in Black, gay, SGL men. So, y'all, let's get in the ring with him right now. Let's do it. Wyatt welcomes Mr. Antoine Craigwell. Talk at me. Happy holidays. How the hell are you?
I'm good, Wyatt, and thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm actually really impressed and honored that you should reach out and invite me to be on your show, because I think I've also been watching your show and your mentions on social media. So I've been aware of the Wyatt Evans show for a while too. Oh yeah, I was taking that little bit of nugget, you know. So yes, I've been aware of your show, so I'm really glad to that you invited me to be a part of it. Thank you.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming by, Antoine. You know, this is the new year. You know, people are making their New Year's resolutions, and they're trying to, make positive changes in their lives. So I wanted to have you on because we need to have a frank conversation about depression, particularly in Black, gay, SGL, same gender loving men. And you are an international expert on it. So I wanted to have you on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Fire away. Let's see if I can answer your questions, or, if I can't, then I'll say, well, I'm sorry, Wyatt, but I don't think I can do that one.
At least you're honest. I love it.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
but before we first get into the nitty gritty, I want to give our audience some salient nuggets of your resume. I mean, because man, look, I want to be just like you when I grow up. First of all, you are a journalist. You've won awards from the New York Association of Black Journalists for a series on Rikers Island. You produced the documentary You Are Not Alone, which we're going to get into later. That's about depression in Black gay men. In 2013, you founded DBGM, Depressed Black Gay Men, which is a nonprofit organization committed to raising awareness, of the underlying factors contributing to depression and suicide. You have presented lectures and workshops on HIV, mental health. So, my friend, you've done so much stuff. So, let me ask you, there is Black gay men disproportionately suffer from depression. What are some of the factors that cause depression in Black gay men?
So, thank you for reading that bit about my bio. And every time I hear my bio read, I want to tell everybody that is not true. They made it up. That is not me.
Well, you mean to tell me I read all of this for nothing?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because it reminds me, when I hear my bio read, it reminds me of the work that I am doing and the work that's still to be done.
Right, right. Well, I mean, you're doing great. You're doing great work.
Right. So the thing is, there is one thing you just said just now that I just need to correct.
Sure, sure.
And that is that Black gay men are not disproportionately affected by mental health compared to the rest of the community.
Okay, I'm glad you corrected me on that.
And the reason I say that is that even though Black gay men may have a number of factors that may contribute to their depression, they are not particularly different than many other people in the community. So, for example, a straight Black man can be struggling with mental health issues and have suicidal ideation and tendencies as well. A transgender Black man, that means someone who transitioned from female to male, could be struggling with mental illness as well and be thinking about depression. So it's not necessarily confined to Black gay men. However, Black gay men or Black SGL men are struggling with a number of different things at the same time. Because depression is made up of a number of different, depression is not just one thing. Okay? We have become conditioned societally and culturally to think of depression. And early when we were chatting, you were saying, you don't want this to be a Debbie Downer kind of conversation, kind of really depressed conversation. And so we have been conditioned in terms of our language to think that depression is something that is less than, it is not the optimum. And so that then creates a bit of a stigma. And immediately it sets up a stigma and shame that anybody who talks about depression, anybody who expresses any thoughts about depression is already labeled, categorized, shoved aside as somebody who is not worthy, somebody who is less than. Okay?
Okay.
And so coming back to it, I'm saying that when we talk about depression, it's a whole host of things. Currently, there is emerging research to suggest that going against or contradicting previous research, that depression was a neurological or a neurochemical imbalance. It's a neurobiological effect.
Right.
Emerging research is telling us now that depression is a combination of a number of things in which neurobiological and neurochemical imbalances in the brain is just one tiny factor. It's not the only factor. Okay? That in fact, when we are struggling with depression, is a whole host of things around us. It is our socialization, it's our conditioning, it's our culture, it's how we see ourselves, how people see us. It's all of these. Plus, what we also know is that unaddressed stress leads to anxiety. And unaddressed anxiety is what leads to depression. And depression, if left unaddressed for 2 weeks or more, any one of the 8 or 9 criteria determined by the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM 5th edition, any one of those 8 or 9 criteria exists for 2 weeks or more, means that somebody is dealing with serious major depression. Okay?
Whoa. Okay.
All right.
Mm.
So, like I said, it's not necessarily entirely rooted in a neurochemical imbalance in the brain. It was often thought that because there are fluctuations in the neurochemicals in the brain, that someone will be predisposed or subject to becoming depressed. Because there's also a school of thought that suggests that depression is also inherited.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that, for example, on certain neurochemicals in the brain, there are alleles or tiny hair-like structures on those cells. Okay? If you happen to be born with short alleles, then you are more predisposed to depression. If you're born with long alleles or the long hair-like structures, then you can be a little bit more resilient and you can bounce back. Okay?
Really?
So
okay.
there is a neurochemical construct to depression. But like I said, emerging research is telling us today that the construct about depression is not just neurochemical. It's not just in the brain. Okay? It is how you might make a comment about me today. And that comment you may make, you may not be aware of that comment and that comment's impact. But you may make a comment about me, Wyatt, about something about me, my personality, my character, the way I look, that may have echoes all the way back in my memory to when I was a child.
Ah, okay. This is fascinating.
But you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So the socialization plays a significant role. And so in the final analysis, when someone takes their life, it is likely and suggests that we, the community, failed that person. Because we are the ones who should have noticed that someone needed help. And as I've been saying, I just came back from Guyana, where I'm from. And while I was there, I did 12 workshops, mental health awareness workshops around the country. And I was saying to them, when someone says they want to end their life, they're not seeking attention. They want you to pay attention to them. They want you to sit up and notice and do whatever you can to step in to assist them. Nobody's going to say that for fun or a joke. When someone says that, they mean it. And you need to pay attention. And one of the things that I've discussed is when someone is suicidal, that process begins at least 6 months before they actually take their life.
Whoa.
And at least 6 months before, they would have been telegraphing and communicating and sending messages and letting people know in very many ways. I'm not going to be here anymore. No, I'm not going to be here. Don't worry about me. It's all going to be all right.
Well, let me ask you, Antoine, do most people pick up those signs within that 6-month window?
No, we don't. We don't because we are not socialized and exposed to the language and the nuances and the intonations and the behavior. We are not socialized to it. We have become so individualistic that we have lost touch with what it means to be community. Go back to like we were talking before we got on this recording about my organization starting the Ancestral Institute, where we talk about looking at mental illness from the perspective of our ancestors. So imagine then, pre-1619, before the white people came to the African continent, before the Arabs came to the east coast of Africa and enslaved our Ugandan and Ethiopian and Kenyan brothers and sisters. Before that, our ancestors knew how to recognize when one of their own was not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, well, come, honey, come sit with me for a while. Come and spend the night in my hut. Okay? Here is something to drink that's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna put you out to sleep, but it's gonna make you feel good. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said to some of the people that I was working with the last month, is in Guyana, we know about bush tea. And some of your older folks, the older people in the community will know, well, okay, we'll mix a bit of sweet sage and lemongrass and a bit of, tisane and a little bit of toyo and a little bit of sweet broom. Not all of them at the same time, mind you.
Okay.
But a little bit of that and a little bit of
Right.
this. Boil it, cool it off, add a little bit of milk and say, drink this, I'm going to catch your bed. And the next morning you wake up, you'll probably be feeling a whole lot better.
Okay, got it. We're going to get into depression and its impact a little bit later, as well as your work in DBGM. But what I want to talk about right now, and I like this part of the show, is to find out your backstory. So, are you ready, my friend?
So you really want to know my business? Is that what it is?
I want to get all up in your business. Listen,
I'm gonna tell you what I think you. I'm gonna tell you where I think you to stay in your lane. How's that?
Look, I want to get all up in your business so the audience can know all about your business. So look, let's start where you were born and raised in Guyana, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
in a little town called New Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like growing up in Guyana?
I was adopted as a baby.
Oh, really? Okay.
So my adopted parent took care of me.
Okay.
Some would suggest that I would live a sheltered life.
Mm-hmm.
Some would suggest that I lived a protected life.
Okay.
But that may be what outsiders might have seen. But I know from the inside, I knew I was in terror from the minute I could speak and I could walk. Okay? I used to go to kindergarten school. And I only just met one of the guys that I was at the kindergarten school with. And I hadn't seen him in more than 41 years. And he remembered me. And every day at the kindergarten school, I used to fight.
No, come on now.
Oh, yeah. I was a terror as a child. But I was also very reserved and conservative and private.
Well, you know what you actually...
I'm still very private.
Well, man, you read my mind because my next question was going to be, when you were a boy, a little nipper, give us 3 characteristics that, best described Antoine. So here you go. You're a hellraiser, right?
Yep. And I always talked a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Loquacious, talking a lot.
Yep.
Reserved.
Yep.
So 3 right there.
Right there.
Okay.
But I think, and I often joke about this, and maybe I should stop making a joke about it, but I joke about this because I think it kind of shows my proximity or my relationship with mental health.
Okay.
Is that my late mother was a nurse at a mental hospital.
Oh, wow.
And so as a child, she would take me to work with her.
Oh, my goodness.
And the hospital, while she's doing her work, I had the run of the entire place. She
Really?
had her friends that worked in the kitchen that they would look out for me. So when I want something to eat, I run to the kitchen. They give me a snack. When it's lunchtime, they got my food. So I run to the kitchen, I get my food, I eat, and I lay down on a bench, and I go to sleep. Afternoon, so I had the run of the hospital. But I was always struck by the images, by the people that I saw in the asylum.
Wow.
Often I would see men, full-grown men, butt naked, walking around, or women, butt naked, walking around. And I often wondered not why they were naked, because very often many would use their clothes as weapons, as tools. So they can use their, like for example, a man can use his pants, okay, to tie a noose around his neck, to kill himself.
Right.
A woman can use her brassiere, okay, in some way or the other. But I often wondered what was going on in their minds. What were they thinking when they saw me? What are they thinking right now where they are? And so I kept those thoughts in my mind, always wondering what's going on between someone's ears. What are they thinking about?
You know, this is powerful because it's like we've got this this Vulcan mind meld going, because I was going to ask you a little bit later on what compelled you to do the work, you know, that you're doing in the mental health arena. And I think you pretty much answered that question, correct?
Let me jump ahead though.
Okay, please.
Many years later, after significant amounts of trial, tribulations, I joined a religious community.
Okay.
First, I broke with my family and became Catholic, and I converted to Catholicism, and then I joined the Jesuits. So I was a Jesuit. After making my first vows, one of my roles in a parish church was to provide spiritual direction. So one of the things that you do as a Jesuit is in your novitiate, do what is called a 30-day retreat. So it's 30 days in silence. Okay? You don't speak for 30 days.
Wow.
And you spend the entire time in meditation and contemplation. Nobody speaks to you, you don't speak to anybody, and you're in isolation for 30 days. After you've taken your vows, every year thereafter, you have to do a 9-day silent retreat. And it's a way of reconnecting back to the 30 days. And so, doing the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, who's the founder of the Jesuits, you become a little more versed in the exercises. And so you use the exercises as a way to provide spiritual direction to people in the community. So not necessarily therapy, but therapy-like, but from a spiritual direction, from a spiritual perspective. So against the backdrop of Christianity. Okay? And I realized that I was providing spiritual direction to a number of people, ordinary people. On a weekly basis, I was seeing numbers of people. And I realized that this is something that I was given to. Listening to them, talking with them, and, providing them with words of comfort that can help see them through to the next day, so they don't feel so bereft and deprived. But then,
wow.
In 1999, after a series of things happened, I stood on the edge of the number 1 platform in New York City, number 1 subway platform at 34th Street, and I contemplated jumping in front of the train.
Really? Can you tell us why? What was going on in your head at the time?
My sister had died.
Oh, man.
In September of that year.
Okay.
I was attacked on the subway and beaten up.
Yeah.
I had just been diagnosed with an incurable illness.
Oh.
I had gone for a job interview, and I knew when I left that interview, I was not going to get the job.
That's a lot.
And on top of those 4, there was the sense of not quite belonging. because I was adopted, so I didn't belong to my natural family, and I didn't belong to my adopted family. So who and where do I belong? So that, on top of everything else, I was also attacked earlier in the year and beaten up in my apartment by somebody I was involved with. They were seeing somebody else, and that person attacked me, slammed my head against the fireplace and that kind of stuff. Fortunately, what I did is that I knew this was happening, it was going to happen, so I had called 911 and I had the phone off the hook. So the 911 operator could hear everything that was going on, and it was being recorded. But all of that came down on me at the same time. And like, if you remember me saying at the beginning of our conversation, that someone struggling with depression, it's not just in their heads. It's a whole host of things going on in their lives. And if I'm telling you that in 1999, I was about to jump in front of a subway train to take my life, then I've now told you some of the number of things that were going on in my life at the same time. A neurochemical imbalance in my brain is just one tiny aspect of that story.
What made you not jump? Right, step back from that oncoming train.
I thought about my adopted mother. They had just buried my sister. And my thought was, I would not want to visit this on her again. I would not want to lay my death on her again so soon. So I stepped back from the edge of the
I am Antoine. First of all, thank you for sharing this. I mean, that's deep and very personal. And
no,
I'm
not
so
really. Stop. We have a conditioning in our society that when we talk about depression, we talk about suicide, it means that I'm less than, I am weak, I am not good enough. That is the opposite. Because I am talking about it, because the more I talk about it,
right,
it is the stronger I become. Because if I did not talk about it, someone who attempts suicide is 50% more likely to attempt a second time. And they will continue attempting until they complete it.
You know what? And you're absolutely right. Why I said, or why I was going to say what I said, was because I'm glad you're here, because number one, you're doing such great work. I mean, so it would have been a loss in so many ways, in so many areas.
Who would have known?
Well, but still, it still would have been a loss. And like you, I'm a strong proponent of therapy, of talking, of really effectively communicating your feelings. And sometimes it takes courage to do that. But the more you talk about it, the more it helps you, and it very well may help somebody else.
Precisely.
I'm just, I believe in effective, open, and honest communication. And, as a quick little sidebar, I think that's one of the main reasons why gay men don't have fulfilling and satisfying relationships that actually work and last, because we don't talk. We don't effectively, openly, frankly, and honestly communicate. But
how are we going to talk, Wyatt, when our environment and our society doesn't encourage us to talk?
Good point. Yeah.
How are we going to talk when we live in a world that many Black gay men are still trying to mirror and copy a heterosexual model?
Exactly. Right.
And in the heterosexual model, you've got toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. You've got all sorts of dysfunction that forces us not to talk. we come from families ourselves where we don't talk about stuff.
Right. Yep, that's true.
So what makes you think that we're going to start talking now?
Well,
what we have to do is to begin to break that.
And how do we do that?
By, like what we're doing now, having open and honest conversations. Now, some of your audience may listen to what all that I'm saying, and the speed at which they're going to come up with judgments and conclusions about me, and the way that they will begin to think about me or look at me or want to categorize me, because they do that as a form of deflection.
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying likely could resonate within them and make them feel uncomfortable that I am speaking what they are unable to verbalize. I am making the silent loud. I am breaking a silence. Because culturally, you as a black man, me as a black man, I'm a mixed race black man, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But as black people, we have been culturally socialized not to talk our business, not to talk about how we feel. Because speaking about your feelings is a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
Okay? So we have been socialized to do that. And men, more particularly, is what actually feeds into and becomes part of toxic masculinity, is because we have been socialized to suppress our emotions.
And, regarding toxic masculinity, Antoine, there is a connection, a nexus between depression and intimate partner violence and abuse. And, as a journalist, I've written a lot about it, reported on it. I'm an advocate. I'm a survivor. I do workshops, all of that. And, it's the elephant in the room. We do not talk about it. Masculinity and stigma play into it. So why don't you, if you would, comment on that a bit?
I argue that domestic violence and intimate partner violence are cyclical. It's learned behavior.
True.
So if you see your father physically or emotionally being abusive to your mother, you assume that that is the way that a man is supposed to treat a woman.
Right.
And so in your future relationships, you will exercise that because that is all you know. But then but what confirms it for you is when you go out into the public square, into the church, into the school, onto the playground, and you hear other men, you hear other boys talking about women in a disparaging way. They denigrate women. They put women down. Women are objectified. Women are property. That's my own, That's my girl. Okay? And so the continuation along the spectrum from this is learned behavior, this is what I see in the home, and my mother quietly takes it. So that means it is acceptable, because if I do that to a woman, then she's going to take it and it's going to be all right, because I am now being man. I am practicing, this is what it means to be a man. Okay? And I go out into the street, into the world outside, and I hear echoes of that, and I see echoes of that. So it's normal. I assume that that is normal behavior. Now, breaking that cycle is a man being able to recognize when he's getting to that point. Because yes, there are some women who can be real toxic too. There are some women who can really and truly know which is a man's buttons and not just push those damn buttons, but like ram them through
Okay.
and set him off. He has to learn to take a step back, walk away.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay? And even when he's walking away, and she might be making comments that you're no man, you would have stand up, a real man would have stand up and face me. A real man would have done X, Y, Z. He'd be like, in Guyanese, we have a saying, stand easy better than beg pardon. Okay? That means if I mind my business, then I don't have to say I'm sorry.
Ah, okay.
Stand easy better than beg pardon. Okay? So if he walks away, if he just leaves that environment, try to calm down himself and find other ways to approach that situation to deal with it. One of the other things that we don't often recognize too is that there are some women who physically and psychologically abuse men.
True.
But a man in that kind of environment is even more trapped. Because who is he going to go and tell that my wife abuses me?
Yeah. Yep. Stigma.
Because that's a reflection on his masculinity. I can't go and tell the boys that. They're going to laugh me out of this world. Who am I going to talk and tell that my wife physically abuses me? Or she mentally abuses me? Who will I tell that to? And my children hearing this, and my children are now confused because they're socialized on the outside to think that a man always has to be strong and in charge and in control. But when I go home, my father's not in control, my mother's in control, and my father's just quiet. So is my father less the man? So now my own children may start to look at me differently and have less respect for me. Because my mother controls the house. She's the pants in the house. I just work and wear the pants and bring the food and the money in, but she runs the shit.
Got it. Makes sense. Tell us about your organization, Depressed Black Gay Men. Antoine, what's its mission and what do you hope to accomplish, say, next year?
So in 2016, DBGM's board decided not to use the full name.
Oh, okay.
They decided that they were just going to use the acronym DBGM.
Right.
Okay, just like GMHC, just like NAACP, just like AARP. Okay?
Got it. Okay.
So, as we were talking earlier, that DBGM celebrates its 10th anniversary next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so, there are a number of events and things that we're looking to talk about, thinking about doing in the lead up to our anniversary celebration. But one of the things that we want to be able to do is to expand, first of all, expand the organization board. So we want to recruit some new board members.
Okay.
And we are looking for people who bring specific skill sets to the organization.
Makes sense. Okay.
People. So for the last 10 years, we've had an assortment of people who have come in because they have expressed an interest in being part of the organization. We have a rather rigorous application process to join the board.
Okay.
And one of the things in the application process is a statement of what you bring to the organization and where you expect or where you see yourself with the organization in 5 years.
Okay.
But more importantly, we have a couple of attestations in that application. One of which is that we ask an applicant to attest that they are in good standing in the community.
Okay.
Because we know, just like the white community, that in the black gay community, we have many black gay men who have recycled themselves to organizations. And everywhere they go, they carry their dirty, bad ways with them, including their malfeasance, their embezzlement, and their misappropriation of funds.
Mm.
Some of them move on from organizations with just barely avoiding criminal prosecution.
Yeah.
We know that as a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's going to join my organization, you got to come on integrity. And it is understood, if after you've made this attestation and we find out you've got anything hidden in your closet, any of those bones rattling around from your past that will affect your ability to function as and represent the organization, then we will summarily have you removed. Because I tell people this, I'm not perfect. Okay? Anybody who knows me, especially some of the people in the black gay can know that I can be a veritable bitch. That's fine.
Whoa. Okay, I'm scared of
here's
you.
the thing.
No,
but here's the
I'm
thing.
scared of you.
Here's the thing though, Wyatt.
Okay.
If I reach out to someone and I say, can you do this for me?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you be a part of this? And they come along, it means that forever afterwards, I am carrying the reputation, the character of that individual with me. Everything I do reflects on that person.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you come on to DBGM's board, then you've got to come on with some integrity. You've got to come on acknowledging and stating and knowing to yourself that you are in good standing in the community. Because stop to think about it for a second while. How many black gay organizations are there in this country? And how many black gay organizations in the past have folded because their leadership are corrupt? And when they fold, what effect does that have on the community that they've been serving? That the community looked up to them and said, I'm going to support this because I believe in it. It represents me. It looks out for me. But then a few years later, there's all sorts of stuff start falling apart. And you look at me like, but I so looked up to them. And then that makes it difficult for any other black gay organization comes up. Why should I trust you? You are maybe like the other organization that existed before. Why should I trust you? Look at my work. Look at what I have done. 8 years now, I've single-handedly led a mental health conference that's focused on LGBT people of color mental health. There is nowhere else on this blue planet that talks about black, gay men, or LGBT people of color mental health. Nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, DBGM celebrates its 10th anniversary next year. There is no other organization anywhere in the United States that is singularly focused on the mental health for black gay men.
And that is exactly one of the reasons why I wanted you on, Antoine, because this is such a critical issue within our community. And I totally get the whole effective vetting process. You have to do that because you've got to have that credibility, that integrity. You just got to have that. I get it.
And so the other part of your question is about DBGM's mission.
Right.
And so DBGM's mission is very simple. In as much as the organization is about and for black gay men and their mental health, the organization is also concerned about the mental health for LGBTQ plus people of color wherever they are. Because who's talking about lesbians' mental health? Who's talking about bisexual people, their mental health? Who's talking about black trans people of experience and their mental health? Okay? So this is where the conference comes in. But DBGM is singularly focused on black gay men with a view towards providing resources, providing the conference, raising awareness of mental health and all the issues that impact these communities, so that at least we can begin to talk about it. So just as I was able to talk about where I come from and my suicide attempt and my struggles, I'm talking about it as if this is ordinary. To me, this is ordinary conversation. I'm like, why didn't you know that before? Because it is intended to be ordinary conversation. So we must be able to get to the point where we can have a regular, ordinary conversation without you judging me because I said I attempted suicide. Am I damaged because I said that?
No.
Am I less than because I said that?
Definitely not.
Do you think I am weak because I said that? Because if you think I am weak because I said that, then come on, bring it. Okay? That doesn't mean to say that I still don't struggle, or I don't have my own thoughts, or what the case might be, but I have a whole lot more that I'm doing that keeps me engaged, keep me occupied. And it's not distraction or avoidance, but I am actively engaged. Okay? And as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, one of the things I've discovered is, and my doctor prescribed it for me, and I don't think he might have recognized what he did.
Okay.
But a couple of years ago, my doctor, looking at my blood work, noticed that my vitamin D levels in my blood were dropping.
Okay.
Over time. And so he prescribed vitamin D supplements. So I take vitamin D, 25 milligrams, 25,000 milligrams a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It just so happens that there are a couple of things that take place with vitamin D. One is that for people who live in the tropics and have relocated to the northern climates where there's like about 6 months of low sunshine,
okay,
after a while, they stop converting sunlight into vitamin D to their skin.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And particularly black people who would normally be converting vitamin D to the sun, to sunlight from the sunlight, their bodies stop doing that. But vitamin D has a number of benefits in the body, as well as your hair, your skin, your nails, your teeth, your bones, your blood, your blood levels, and so forth. It is also important for your mental health.
Okay.
So my doctor giving me vitamin D because he'd seen that my levels had dropped, inadvertently assisted me by helping with my mental health.
Ah, okay.
You understand?
I do.
So by taking the 25,000 milligrams a week, hey, I'm a little better. Because there is evidence that suggests that vitamin D does impact your mental health. It makes you sleep better. It makes you function better. And for mental health, especially for depression, sleep is one of your best friends.
Exactly. Wow. I want to thank you, sir, for such an enlightening conversation. Before I let you go, how can we follow you? How can we connect with you? Would you give us all of your social media?
All right. So we've got dbgm.org. That's the website for the organization, dbgm.org. There is the inmymindconference.com for the In My Mind conference. And like we were talking earlier, we just launched the Ancestral Institute. So it's at ancestralinstitute.org. But you can also find us on Facebook, DBGM, or In My Mind on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at DBGM or In My Mind or Ancestral Institute. And you can find us on Instagram at DBGM, also in my mind, also Ancestral Institute. And I'm on Instagram. And my name on Instagram is an indigenous Guyanese name for a creature that is a spirit in the indigenous Indian culture from the Guyanas, from the Amazon. It's a thing called a Masakura man. And a Masakura man is an entity, it's a spirit, it's a being that dwells in the forest, that the indigenous Indians have reverence for a Masakura man. There is also Makanaima, which is different. Makanaima is slightly more destructive.
All right.
Or Kanaima. So I'm on Instagram as Masakura Man, but I'm also on Facebook, and I tell people I live on Facebook. I'm there all the time, and I'm posting things on Facebook. Except, of course, that I am careful what I post. So I'm not one of these people who will post all sorts of personal things.
Mm-hmm.
And my every step and every day.
I totally agree with you.
I post certain things that I think I need you to know.
Right.
So last Thursday, I went with a friend to see Handel's Messiah at Carnegie Hall. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see me post pictures about that on Facebook.
Oh.
No, because that was a moment between me and my friend. For us to enjoy that moment and enjoy each other's company. That is not something I want to post. I do things, I go places, and not everything goes up on social media. Not everything has to go up on social media.
Oh my God, absolutely true. I totally copy that. Well, Mr. Antoine Craigwell, thank you for stopping by. Wyatt, man, look. This has been such a great conversation. It's been entertaining, enlightening, and I am officially scared of you.
Oh, don't worry. I'm not that frightful. I'm not that scared.
All right.
No.
You sure about that?
Yeah, very sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And thank you very much again, Wyatt, for having me as part of the show. And I look forward to seeing and hearing it, and sharing about it with as wide as possible right
now. So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. And WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. And at WyattEvans.com, you will find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And the current installment is Frenzy! Yeah, Frenzy. And y'all, Frenzy is just like chock full of masculine romance, danger, intrigue, action, passion, and some good old portions of erotica thrown in for good measure. Now, the predecessor to Frenzy is Rage. They're both on WyattEvans.com. And this spring, I will be releasing the new sequel in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. It's titled Shattered. I'll say it, Shattered. And I'll have more information for you about that later. Now, you can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, on my social media. Is all right there for you. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Drop me a line at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. It's all there. My social media is all there for you to peruse. So y'all listen again. Happy, hippie New Year. And I'll be back at you soon.